Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the plant room. So on today's edition of the plant room, we're going to look at Syngoniums. Now, granted, in the past I have said that Syngoniums are troublesome for me, but I do have some varieties that I can actually grow pretty well. So if you love Syngoniums, stick around. I'm going to show you the ones that I have. Alright guys, as mentioned before, Syngoniums is one of those plants that I think everybody has at least one. And what makes them so coveted is that there's so many different varieties. I actually do have quite a few of them, even though in the past I've said some varieties give me a hard time. Like the white butterfly, that's one that I can't seem to grow. But here on my table, I have 6 of them that grow fairly well for me. Some of them I've had to restart a couple of times, but for the most part, they don't give me too much trouble. So we'll start with this Aria. This one, I featured once before in the repotting video, like when it's time to repot and when you shouldn't. And I don't know, we'll try to put a link to that video down below. When I showed it to you, she was a lot smaller and she was in a smaller pot. I finally acquiesced and put her in a larger pot. And as you can see, she's still trying to push out roots from the bottom, but not time to repot because I just put her in this pot. This is one of those plants that I got from Ecogenera. And as you can see, it looks as if she's reverted on me. She's gone totally green, and that's okay. I mean, it is what it is. Some plants are just not genetically stable to maintain their variegation, but I do enjoy this plant. She's growing really quickly, and I think she would probably benefit from a moss pole, but again, not something that I'm interested in doing. I'm going to let this one vine and hang. She did come with some very pretty variegation originally from here. And this vine that she put out has absolutely none. She does have a leaf coming in right here, and I'm hoping that that particular leaf will carry on the variegation. I know that, one of the things that we tend to do is to cut the plant back to where that last spot of variegation was. And I mean, I could do that, but I don't want to. I'm actually enjoying this plant the way she is. If she decides to put out variegation, fine. And if she doesn't, that's okay with me as well. I do like that she is sizing up as far as her leaves, and I'm very happy with the rate of growth. All of these plants, with the exception of 2, are in my Arrowhead mix, and we'll list the ingredients to that, on the screen. But yeah, this is a good alternative to a pothos for those that are out there starting out. All of these Syngoniums are a good, starter plant for folks that are just starting out with plants. This one here, I don't quite remember the name of this one. I think they call it a pink splash, but I could be wrong. And if that's not the name, just let me know in the comments below. So this plant, I got it, I believe, from Gabriella Plants a long time ago. It's been about, I want to say, 2 years. And you're probably thinking to yourself, wow, that's really small for 2 years. Well, there's a backstory to this one. I had her on a moss pole, and she was doing really well, and she was really tall, but I noticed that she had stopped growing. And when I took her out of the pot, I noticed she had root rot. So I ended up just unpotting her, putting her in a vessel of water and letting her develop some water roots. What I did after she developed those roots was I put her in pond. So currently she's in pond on a moss pole, and she seems to be taking well to it. She has put out new growth. She's getting taller and putting out these beautiful, beautiful pink leaves. And that's what drew me to this particular Syngonium, because I love that splash of pink and then the back side of that leaf if you see it, it's green. It's got that minty color green. So I like that it adds a splash of color to all of my green plants when it's, you know, placed strategically. It's a cool plant. Now, you could put her on a moss pole or you could let her trail. This is my second time trying to place her on a moss pole. We'll see how she does. Right now, she seems to be prospering. So I'm going to leave her here until she says she doesn't like it anymore. So this one, I think, again, I think it's called the Pink Splash, but I could be wrong. And then the next one I wanted to show you, come on, move around, get out the way, is this Albo Syngonium. Now, this one for me has been a little troublesome. Originally, I tried to let her just do her thing, you know, just hang, but she started dropping leaves. So I took her out of her original pot and I put her in this pot. I didn't remove all of the soil that she originally came with, but I did add some of my Arrowhead mix and I put her on the pole. And still she did not want to prosper. And she was in a prime location. I mean, she was sitting on top of the cabinet here where she's getting at light, ambient light, bright light from all of the grow lights that are above her. But every time she put out a leaf, she would kill it. So, you know how it is when we get upset with some plants that just taking up prime realty. I decided, okay, you don't want to do well there. Let's put you in a non-prime spot. So she ended up on the floor over here. And in this spot, she still gets a little bit of bright light, but it's not a prime spot. And since being placed in that location, she has given me two leaves that are absolutely gorgeous. This is her latest leaf, I believe. This one right here. Check out that variegation. I mean, what's not to love? I love the cream and the green and all of those colors. Almost looks like army. But yeah, so I say all that to say this is one of those plants that I don't look at twice. I check her moss pole to see if she needs water. Like right now, I don't know if you could hear that crunch. Let me get her closer to me. Can you hear that? If you can hear that crunch, that means that this plant is in need of water. So I will be watering her moss pole right after this video. But again, this is one that I don't look at too much. I don't stare at too much because when I do give her too much attention, then she wants to act all silly and not give me any pretty growth. So this is the Albo Syngonium. And I've had this one since last year, April. And you can see all I got is 4 leaves. So you can tell I'm struggling with this one. She's not actually thriving, but I'm hoping that she'll like being in that corner down there. Out of sight, out of mind, just water her every once in a while. So moving right along, I showed you guys this one. This one came from Plant Proper, and they had a special buy 3 get 1 free, I believe. And I showed this one to you guys, and I got a lot of feedback on this. You know, put her in a bright spot. This, that, and the third. You know, water her when she gets dry. And all of your comments absolutely help. This one actually lives in the kitchen. She gets light from a west window, and she's actually growing. This is another one that I don't look at too much. I check to see if she's, you know, needs water. This one is still in the pot that she came in. I have not repotted her yet. I might repot her soon, but I can tell she's trying to like vine down, and that's cool because again, this is another one that I would let her do her own thing. I have no intentions of polling it or any of that type of nonsense. But another fairly easy one to grow. And I guess what I'm starting to love about this plant is like this one, it sports a little bit of that pink. And I absolutely adore that. This particular leaf has more of the pink, but all of the leaves have splotches, if you will, of a little bit of pink on them. And I think that's really, really pretty. So Again, they offer you so much color and contrast within the green plants that they're an absolute joy to buy and care for, because they're super easy once you get the hang of them. Let's see. This guy here. So I believe they call it a Lanny Carty Road. I believe that's what they call this plant. And this Syngonium to me is like the Syngonium of all Syngoniums. And I love it because of the dark foliage. This one, the leaves almost look like a purple green, and I like that about her. This one lives in the kitchen in the west window. She's also planted in the same medium. I just recently upsized her to this square pot from Target. It's self-watering. I noticed that when she was in the clear pot that I originally had her in, she was drying out a little bit too quick, and then she was a little root bound. So I decided to upsize her, and she's doing really well. She's putting out new leaves, and super easy to grow, just like all the rest of them. I love the vining effect for her, and what drew me to this plant, and I'll turn her around this way so you could see, is the back of the leaves. I love that maroonish color back there. Such a pretty contrast to the dark in the front and the purple in the back. Super cool. She grows pretty prolifically as long as she's given the right conditions. She does like the bright and direct light. Other than that, I would say super easy plant, good for a beginner, a good beginner plant to add to your collection. All right, so this is one of the ones, and let me move everybody out the way so you can get a good look at her. Push this one back over here. This Syngonium here, I'm gonna sit down for this one. So when I initially started my Syngonium craze, this was one of the first ones that I got. As you can see, I'll turn her around so you can see, she's been snipped a bunch of times. I will call this one of the Syngoniums that I've struggled with. I believe this one is a Wellandii. I'll put the name down below. But what's different about this particular Syngonium is that the leaves are velvety. Unlike its counterparts, you know, where the leaves are smooth, this one has velvety leaves. And she's not the easiest one to grow. She's been moved quite a few times to different locations trying to find her sweet spot. I've had the Syngonium over a year. She was a small specimen when I got her, but nonetheless, I have struggled. She's been cut back several times. She does not propagate well. I've tried to propagate this plant several times in hopes of making a fuller pot. Up until recently, she lived in this plant room on the shelf, getting ambient light up top. But I noticed that she was struggling there as well. So I believe it was last week, I took her out of the pot she was in. I had her in a peat moss, perlite type mixture. So I moved her to my mix that I prefer, and I put her in this clear pot so I can monitor the roots. And I've moved her to the kitchen where she's in a west facing window and she gets dappled sunlight due to the trees that we have in the yard. She has been growing. She's doing much better than she had been. I would love to be able to propagate her and get a fuller pot, or maybe potentially in the future if I find another one, I'll try to get another plant to unite them to make a fuller pot, because she's such a beautiful Syngonium. I like that she's different from all of her counterparts in that, like I mentioned, she has the velvety leaves, and then she sports this line down the middle, which to me is very cool and very different. So out of all the Syngoniums that I've shown you today, this is one of the ones that I would say for me is a little bit more difficult to care for. Very particular. I don't think I have her figured out and all this time, almost a year or over a year, I don't have her figured out fully. I'm still working on that, but right now I think I'm in a better spot than I was previously, and that she seems to be a little happier and putting out new growth. So yeah, there are so many varieties of Syngoniums. My gosh, I think there's got to be over 100 because I see a new sport every day. Outside of the ones that I have on my table, you guys know that I have my chia pens, which I love, and I don't think my husband can get a shot of, but I'm going to have to propagate that plant because it's way beyond its pole, and I cannot extend that pole, so I am going to chop and prop it, and I may take you along for that ride. And then I have the other one that I featured not too long ago, and we'll put a link to that video in the description in case you want to check that out. But yes, for all you beginners out there that are looking for pretty plants to add to your collection that's outside of the regular ones that are commonly recommended for beginners, I would highly suggest the Syngonium family. And what's beautiful about these is that you can find them at your local big box store at reasonable prices. And yeah, you should get yourself one if you don't have one already. I think that's all I have for you today as far as Syngoniums go. Take some getting used to, but you can do this. You can grow. If I can grow a Syngonium, you can grow a Syngonium. Yeah. So if you've got any comments for me on how I can up my care on them, or specifically for this one, who's always been a challenge, let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for spending some time with me today, and I hope to see you again real soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Talk to you guys real soon. Bye.